Why don't even do this? Watch this. Hold on, hold on. Y'all stand by. This is going to get even more fun in about 3, 2, 1. Hey, what's up, champions? Donnie Bovine here, CEO and founder of Success Champions Networking, author of Endless Stream of Referrals, and the founder of the Badass Business Summit. This year, I'm excited. We're bringing the Badass Business Summit back to Fort Worth, Texas, September 22nd through the 24th, and this is going to be an event like no other. 23 amazing speakers all around the idea of business development, business growth, and how to scale your business. Networking at a level that you have never seen before. Attendees last year said this is the best business conference and event they have ever attended. You will walk away with actionable insight, tangible things that you can use in your business. This isn't a conference where you're going to come and just leave with pages and pages of notes and never implement. You will be taking actions during the event, working on your business so you can build to business freedom that you set out to create here through everything. You're going to grow your business with amazing get shit done individuals that will inspire you to go bigger and louder. So the Badass Business Summit takes place live in Fort Worth, Texas, September 22nd through the 24th. We have one goal and mission to get you in the right mindset and giving you the skills that allow you to grow and ultimately scale your business. It is the one business growth event you can't afford to miss. Get your tickets at badassbusinesssummit.com, and we are excited to see you there. Whoa, there it is. We actually got that. Woo!
I was going to say, I want to go now, Donnie. That's it. I was kind of on the fence there for a minute, but now I want to go.
Well, you know, I mean, everybody else but you's invited. So
I figured. That's where my life has been. That's just, I'm used to
that. Well, what's going on, everybody? Donnie Bovine, CEO and founder of the Success Champion family of companies. I'm hanging out with Eric Rogell, and we are going to be talking all about the Badass Business Summit. And guys, I'm really excited to introduce you to Eric, man. This guy is beast mode. Man, since I've gotten to know Eric, I can tell you my personal life has improved. This motherfucker just pours so much into people, and his passion for what he does for men all around the world is second to none, man. I mean, this guy is legit, and I would vouch with him for everything he does. So, Eric, introduce yourself, tell the world a little bit about what you do, and then I'll take it back from there.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that, Donnie. I'm honored by that intro and what you said, and really is part of my passion. That's why I do what I do. So, yeah, Eric Rogell. I am a speaker and an author, best-selling author. Was a journalist for a long time, traveled around the world, tons of experience in transformational. Whatever you want to call it, Donnie, transformational, speaking groups, whatever it is we do. But I own the Boldman Initiative. Part of it is corporate, part of it is personal. On the corporate side, I help companies put really incredible mentoring programs together. You know, I'm all about mentoring, Donnie. It's all about leaders, forging really good leaders and creating what I call an unquittable culture in your business. We do that very, very simply, and we help you put that foundation together. On the personal side, I have the Boldman Brotherhood, which I know you've been a part of, Donnie. You came in, did an amazing guest speaking gig there with us. The guys just loved it. And that's a peer-to-peer mentoring group for men. We get together once a week, and it's all about having that time, just us as men, helping each other grow, helping each other move forward. So I do that. And part of that, too, is the Boldman Adventures. And I call them adventure masterminds. We get guys out of the house, out of the office, out of their head, and get them the fuck outside and back in touch with nature, challenging themselves a little bit, seeing what they're capable of, learning new things about themselves, and really forging that brotherhood and getting together with other men and really forming that bond. So a lot of good stuff there that I do. It's stuff that I'm passionate about, as you know, and yeah, appreciate the opportunity to come in and talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, brother. And I can tell you guys, it's very rare for me to, run into somebody that you instantly find just a killer rapport with. and your stories kind of have similar paths, similar journeys. And I'll be honest, I mean, hanging out with Eric has been an absolute blast, and the things he's doing. And that's why I'm stoked when we had the opportunity to bring him out to the summit to teach, share his story a little bit, and walk people through how to really get after it in life. And I can tell you, my journey, my story, I've found the most success in helping others by sharing my screw ups, my fuck ups, and the likes. And I've never had a problem, walking people through everything I've done to screw up to figure things out.
Yeah.
And Eric's just that same kind of dude. So talk to us a little bit, Eric, about what you're talking about at the summit. What are you teaching on, and the likes?
Yeah, man. And it's funny that you say that about sharing, your fuck ups, your screw ups, your whatever. I call them our big, beautiful battle scars, right? This is shit that we've earned. We've all done it. And what I have found is in sharing them the right way. And we'll talk about that in a minute, but sharing them the right way, man, it not only moves people forward who are around you, but it moves you forward too. Because I always tell guys, look, on my scorecard, I don't have wins and losses. It's wins and learns, right? That L is for learns. What did I learn from that screw up, that mistake, that fuck up, that thing that I did that was, embarrassing and mortifying and stuff that we don't want to talk about? But oftentimes we find that that's the stuff that moves us forward the most. It's what teaches us what we're capable of, what we can handle, and what we can overcome, what we can conquer. And it's beautiful that we did that. Now, in sharing that, we save someone else, from falling into that same trap, and they can move forward faster. And in sharing it, every time I share a script that I have, Donnie, I'll tell you, I almost always learn something new about what that was and what it did and what it gave me as a person. So, I always tell people share them, but share them from the lesson. So it's wisdom, right? I call it, it's wisdom versus advice, right? You've been in the brotherhood. One of the things we talk about right at the very beginning of every meeting is offer wisdom, not advice. Wisdom comes from experience, right? That is, hey, man, same thing happened to me. Here's what happened. Here's what I did about it. And then here was the result that I got. Now you can take from that what you want. And that's great because now I have the opportunity to get this wisdom from you. Advice is like, hey, Donnie, you know what you should do? You should do this.
Right. There's and I love that there's a phrase you say before you put people into breakout groups where you're like, hey, give wisdom and advice, but you got this whole like framework. Can you tell that framework, because it's one of the coolest things that you have. I freaking love it.
Yeah, we call it the rules of engagement.
Yeah.
Right. And it's the rules of engagement for the meeting, for the roundtable discussions. And it's the rules of engagement when we put them in breakouts. And there's 4 of them. And the first one is be curious, not critical.
That's it. I love it.
So that's the one where, like, if somebody says something you don't agree with or you think is stupid, don't criticize them. Get into their world a little bit. Ask some really good questions. Get curious. And you may just learn something about how they got there, what their mindset is, and get a little deeper into their world. And then you guys might be able to vibe a little bit and help each other out more. You might be able to give some wisdom a little later on that may help them. So get curious, not critical. The other one is share wisdom, not advice, which I just talked about, right? We want to keep the shoulds to a minimum. We want to burn down the shoulds because that gets us all in defense mode, right? We don't like to be told what to do. So that's that one. Then there is give your know-it-all the night off. So you may hear a story that you've heard before, or I may mention something, and the minute you go, yeah, I heard that, you shut this all down and you can't let anything else in. So give your know-it-all the night off. Listen to everything with fresh ears, right? Pretend you heard it for the first time. You're going to get something new out of it. I mean, I always give the analogy of, there are certain movies that I've seen 10, 20, 30 times, right? They're on cable on a Saturday afternoon. I flip it on as background noise. Many times I've seen these movies, I always catch one little detail that I've missed, right? So it's the same thing for us in our lives. And then the final one, which is important, is personality versus purpose. So it's purpose over personality. So we want to have a good time. We got a bunch of guys. We want to hang out. We want to have a great time. But let's not turn this into a frat house. I spent a lot of time in frat houses. I know what they're all about. We don't want to get sophomoric. We don't want to get silly. We don't want to get stupid. We can have fun, have a good time, but still be on purpose. And that purpose is we want to learn about ourselves. We want to learn about the guys in the room. We want to bond. We want to build that brotherhood and move everybody forward. As long as we keep that purpose, then we can have a good time. We don't start getting into personality, being a clown, being, an attention whore, trying to vampire attention from the people in the room. We're on purpose.
Dude, I love that. No, I mean, those are 4 philosophies or 4 guidelines that people should live their life by. I mean, I know there's guys like me, and I've got one of the biggest egos I know. And, the first time I stepped in your room and you laid this out, I went, fuck, dude, I've got to turn me down a few notches to be able to come play this game, which was healthy for me, right? Because, I love to be the loudest guy in the room. I love to freaking making sure everybody I know there. And I think it's healthy for anybody to find themselves in a situation where they get the night off. I love that entire phrase because some of us that like you and me, when we're out there all the time, putting ourselves on podcast stages and the likes, and, that requires a lot of mental energy, requires a lot of mental game. It requires you, a lot of mental stamina. And it's nice to just hang out every once in a while and just be in the moment and have great conversations.
Yeah, man. And it's interesting that you mentioned ego, and you got the biggest ego in the room. Now, look, I always tell people there's the positive side of your ego, and then there's the limiting side of your ego. The positive side is, look, man, if you didn't have a huge ego, you couldn't have built what you built. You had to have that big, good, healthy ego to do the podcast, get SCN going, do, the Badass Business Summit, have all these things going. If you didn't have a big, healthy ego, you never would have done any of that. Same thing with me. If I didn't have a big, healthy ego, I couldn't have, formed the companies that I do, get on the stages I get on, talk to the people I talk to. That's the healthy side of self-belief and who you are, what you're capable of. That's the good side. Limiting side of the ego is when you're taking, sucking all that shit out of the room from people, and it's me over you.
Yep.
Right. So that's the one we want to kind of quash a little bit. We don't really need to do that. I always look at it. I tell them it's agenda versus purpose, right? I just talked about personality versus purpose, but there's agenda versus purpose. And when you look at it that way, and man, this was the one you talk about a wake up call and a slap in the side of the head. This was a big one for me because agenda really is, what can I get from you? Right. So if I'm on this show with you and we're talking and I was coming from agenda, it would be, well, I want people to know who I am, and I want them to come to my site, and I want them to buy my stuff, and I want them, and I'm just going to talk over you, Donnie, because it's all about me. And I have an agenda. I want people to come to my thing. When you look at, social media, the agenda could be, I want likes and engagement and comments and people telling me how much they love me and what I'm doing. It's what can I get from you? Purpose is, what can I give to you? What value am I delivering? So you and I are on this today, and there's a purpose. We want to talk about the summit. We want to talk about all the great shit people are going to get when they come, give them a little preview, pump a lot of value out there for everybody so they get some really cool stuff they can take today and then get even more at the summit. That's coming from purpose. You can see the difference, right? Can you tell the contrast between those two?
For sure. And, what's killer about that is it took me a level of humility to get there. Because, I grew up as a straight commission sales guy, and my job was to go get the deal at all costs. Right. So, it paid to be the loudest guy in the room. It paid to be able to know how to pivot a conversation straight to benefit me. But I learned over the years that the more that you can bring value to others, open doors for others and pour into people, the more people lean into you. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people move through life in this act of desperation that either they're not living the life that they want to be living, or they're not chasing the dreams like they should be chasing. They haven't fully gotten the game. So everything is done to pay the bills or to sustain a lousy life.
Right. Yep. Fill that hole that's in here by looking at stuff out there.
Yep.
Like, what can you give me, Donnie? Like, if you tell me I'm awesome, then that makes me feel good.
Yep.
Rather than me believing in my own abilities, believing in my self-value, my self-worth, and then going from there. And what's interesting about that, it kind of leads us full circle into the, what I'm talking about at the summit about sharing your wisdom. What's interesting is I had a guy that was on my podcast a few years ago now, and he'd come on and he shared this great story about building this, multi-million-dollar business, and then going into waking up one morning, going into the business, and his partner had stolen all the money. And he basically lost everything in a day, millions. And he was living in his car on his parents' front lawn, working in a club that he used to frequent as a customer, cleaning toilets and mopping floors. And I asked him why he did that. And he said, because that's where the people who I originally were with hang out. And it got me access to them, even though I didn't have the money for the cover charge at the door. So there's a guy who's coming in, he's sharing this amazing story, right? So it turns out one of his closest friends growing up in New York became a self-made billionaire. And I won't say who it is, because I have a promise that I would never say that. But the story is this guy had formed a company and he was working as a waiter in a Red Lobster to support himself. He had gone bankrupt 5 times. He had almost had to shutter the company a bunch of times. He had failure after failure, and then eventually sold the company for almost $1 billion. Wow. And made hundreds of millions on his cut. And I said, brother, I would love to have him on the show. Have him come in. He said, he won't come on. He won't do it. So what do you mean he won't do it? And he said, he's got this public persona because he's a very well-known guy. And he has this public persona of success. And that's what he's been selling. So in selling this public persona of success, he doesn't want anyone to know that he's ever failed or faced a challenge or screwed up or do. And I'm like, holy shit.
Dude, I literally got goosebumps because that motherfucker doesn't know how much more impact he would have on the fucking world if he would share that damn story, because that's where all the power comes from.
Not only that, but the relatability, the humanity, the value that you're bringing to others. Because look, I'm looking at this guy going, damn, man, I can't believe this guy went from 0 to $1 billion and he never fucked up. But he did dozens of times.
Right.
So share that with me. It helps, man. It makes me feel like I can,
Well, and the desire to not share that knowledge and teach others is what screws everybody else who's trying to go for it, because now they're like, well, this motherfucker's got some magic pill, right? He's got some magic story or some magic hack or trick that allowed him to do it when I'm just a regular guy and can't figure it out. That's what that shit pisses me off, because there's so many Instagram millionaires and these people that are teaching the world that, this is easy and you should do it. I mean, it's one of the reasons I launched my company, because there were so many people out there saying, dude, anybody should start a company. You can make this work. And I bought the fucking hype. And boy, did I get the freaking punched in the face while doing it. But, more people should share the journey and the moments in their story when shit got dark, because that is the moment of impact that a lot of people need to hear. That's actually going to be that transitional moment for them.
Yeah.
So.
And you know what? We're all going through it. And I found that when and I'll just bring up men in particular, because women are great. Like they'll share with other women. They get together, they go to lunch, they share about everything that's going on. Men, we don't do that often as men, which is, that's why I have the brotherhood, which you experienced, is now we got a place we can do that. But when I found out, when I started talking to men about this kind of stuff is, the feeling you get when you know that you've hit challenges and screwed up, and you see, well, this guy's successful and this guy's successful and this guy's over here on, doing fucking Facebook ads with his Lamborghini and his mansion, and I'm feeling shitty. If I know that they're on the same journey that I'm on, they've been down the path before me, well, then that's a guy that I want to get to know, right? Because you're real, man. You're like, okay, cool. So you did that. Tell me how you got here. And you would be surprised, man, because I've found so many men are really willing to share their story. Like once you just kind of get real.
Well, I would say that so many men want to share their story, but they've never been in a spot where they could before, right? Right. That idea of getting vulnerability in a moment is huge. And I think a lot of guys are looking for an outlet or a release, or as I described it, one of the first nights hanging out with you guys was the ability to let your fucking hair down. And I think that's huge, man. And I think most guys are really looking for that.
Yeah. And what's interesting about it too, is that, and then we learn how to share. And this is one of the things I'm going to do at the summit, is sharing this wisdom from strength, not weakness.
Hmm.
Right. So a lot of people feel like if they get vulnerable, it's got to be weepy and, crying and victim and the whole thing. And you don't have to get there. Right. Doing it from strength is all about, hey, man, this is what I did. I've hit this challenge. I overcame it. So here's what happened, but here's what I did about it. And I find that in a lot of these stories that I hear and a lot of the books that are out there by the gurus and by whoever else, they love getting into the problem. Oh, there's a problem today and there's a problem here. And I had this problem. And they don't give you a solution. Right. And if they do, it's very kind of surface. But that's where the wisdom comes in, because you don't have to have, like, you and I are having a conversation, right? And you tell me something happened in your business and it screwed up, or you're having a challenge, right? And I can just say to you, hey, Donnie, look, man, I went through something similar. Here's what it is. Here's what I did. Now we're getting to solutions, and you're realizing, okay, there's a path through this, right? There's light at the end of the tunnel. I don't have to have a system,
right,
or, a program or what. It's just people sharing their wisdom on how to get something done. Like we're doing today. And people just get value out of it, and they'll move forward. So I look at a lot of these, gurus. I call them book reporters, because, they read a bunch of books on a topic, and then they went ahead and now they're just regurgitating that. They haven't been through it. I've read, and I'm sure you have too, story after story after story about all these, internet millionaires, like you mentioned earlier. They didn't make their money doing what they're teaching you to do. They read about how to do it, and now they're making money just teaching you. So, it's all about, there's a great quote. Donnie, I don't know why I keep forgetting the guy's name. I gotta just get it and write it down. If you know who this was, man, just remind me. But he was an author, and he wrote a great line, and I use it all the time. And he says, knowledge comes from learning, but wisdom comes from living. So I would rather be with the guy who's lived it, right? I mean, you were in the military, you're on a battlefield. Would you rather have the, commander next to you who's read a bunch of books on it and never actually been on a battlefield? Or do you want the grizzly old battle-scarred guy that's been through a bunch of these? Which one do you want next to you on that field?
Always, man. Yeah. And I love this. It's a beautiful freaking analogy, because I think, if you look at a lot of books and a lot of how people present themselves out, I mean, most of what they're teaching is just the accolades of what they've done, right? There's really no meat on the bone of, here's the how-tos of what they have. And it's because, they've only chased some level of success, and they actually haven't tried to turn around and help the others behind them who are going through the same shit. They're living life in this very selfish manner. And a wise man once told me, once upon a time, he goes, Donnie, you got to quit being an asshole. And I said, how am I being an asshole?
Yeah.
And he said, look, dude, you've got a lot of knowledge in your head. You've got a lot of stories and a lot of things you've been through. If you don't share that knowledge with others, you're a selfish prick. And I went, fuck, man. It totally changed the dynamic of how I was showing up. I mean, it was huge. It was huge.
And it's interesting. I had the same conversation with myself in the mirror, because I had, gotten a mentor, and the guy that I put my work together with has been a, tremendous influence on my life. Move me forward faster than I ever could. Interesting enough, he's a Marine like yourself. So he's very into like adapt and overcome, like whatever you got to do, let's get through it. And he studied, 30 years of human consciousness and all of that. And he was mentoring me, and I just kept thanking him. I'm like, dude, I can't ever thank you enough. And he's like, the only way to thank me is pay it forward, mentor other men, other people. He said, I'm paying it forward to the great men that I grew up with that, fought in World War II and fought with Patton and helped me. And I did the same thing. I was looking in the mirror after he told me that, and I'm like, you selfish motherfucker. You literally have been like hoarding all of this, keeping it quiet, not wanting to say anything about it. And just like the guy I spoke about, hiding all the things that went wrong, because you don't, you got to always be right. Like you've got to be this right success. And I looked at it and I'm like, man, what an asshole. And if I died today, all of that shit that I went through my whole life is just gone. You got to get that knowledge out. And I think it was first time I heard it was Wayne Dyer. Dr. Wayne Dyer. And I loved his books when I was in college. And he said something to the effect of, and I'm paraphrasing if I get it wrong, don't die with your music still in you. And that I think of that every day when I get up. I'm like, man, if I died today, did I get enough of my music out of me that I can rest, easily? So yeah, man, same thing as you're saying. You got to share it. You got to share your wisdom and your experience.
Love it. So guys, I hope you understand why I invited Eric to come speak at the summit, man. Because me and this dude, we can sit for hours and fucking do this.
Oh yeah.
So if you want more of this level of learning, this level of knowledge, this level of fucking passion, dude, come hang out with us at the Badass Business Summit, September 22nd through the 24th, here in Fort Worth, Texas. There's only 39 tickets left to the event, and those will sell out very, very quickly. But come hang out with Eric, come network with a bunch of other business owners.
We mentioned the bourbon, that there's, it's my birthday, it's your brother Keith's birthday. There will be bourbon. There will be a bourbon toast during that weekend. So come join us for that too.
For sure. And you all stay tuned and stick around, because Eric and I got some few tricks up our sleeves and some other things we're working on. But come hang out with us at the summit. You'll be able to learn about some of those things we have coming up. badassbusinesssummit.com. And dude, I'm looking forward to meeting you guys there. Eric's gonna be awesome meeting you face to face, brother.
Yeah,
and
man.
I just look forward to changing the world, my friend. Keep being a badass.
That's it, man. We're changing it right now. We shifted it a little bit today. That's what I love. Every day, just move it a little bit further forward.
That's it. See you guys at the summit. Hey, what's up, champions? Donnie Bovine here, CEO and founder of Success Champions Networking, author of Endless Stream of Referrals, and the founder of the Badass Business Summit. This year, I'm excited. We're bringing the Badass Business Summit back to Fort Worth, Texas, September 22nd through the 24th, and this is going to be an event like no other. 23 amazing speakers, all around the idea of business development, business growth, and how to scale your business. Networking at a level that you have never seen before. Attendees last year said this is the best business conference and event they have ever attended. You will walk away with actionable insight, tangible things that you can use in your business. This isn't a conference where you're going to come and just leave with pages and pages of notes and never implement. You will be taking actions during the event, working on your business so you can build to business freedom that you set out to create here through everything. You're going to grow your business with amazing get shit done individuals that will inspire you to go bigger and louder. So the Badass Business Summit takes place live in Fort Worth, Texas, September 22nd through 24th. We have one goal and mission: to get you in the right mindset and giving you the skills that allow you to grow and ultimately scale your business. It is the one business growth event you can't afford to miss. Get your tickets at badassbusinesssummit.com, and we are excited to see you there.